All right, good afternoon, everyone. I will call the meeting to order of the MPO Policy Board for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. And the first thing that we'll do is take a roll call to establish a quorum. Aaron Easter.
Present.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Gary Schroeder.
Present.
Steve Snyder.
Present.
Larry Leverance.
Present.
Cindy Murray.
Here.
Mike Gibson.
Present.
Deb Calder.
Here.
All right, thank you, everyone. We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Those have been communicated to you in your packet, and I hope you've had a chance to review those. And I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, changes, or Scribner's errors? Hearing none, we will conduct a roll call vote on the minutes. Aaron Easter.
Aye.
Tom Murtaugh.
Aye.
Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Larry Leverance.
Aye.
Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Mike Gibson.
Aye.
Deb Calder. Thank you, everyone. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the memorandum of agreement with the Carroll County CERP program contract. And who will be handling that?
That would be me, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So this memorandum of agreement is something that is going through the NDOT CERP program, the Small Urban and Rural Planning Program. And what that is that smaller counties that aren't large enough to have their own MPO can work with NDOT to get some funds to pay a nearby MPO to do some work for them. So that's what we do for Carroll County. And NDOT will pay for 80% of the time and the costs and all that we have for doing that planning work. And Carroll County will then pay a 20% match. Well, we were kind of looking back at some of our documentation for that, and we realized that we had not updated this memorandum of agreement since like 2011. So we wanted to kind of go and clean that up and formalize that a little bit. So I went to Carroll County. I talked to their commissioners about this, and they were in agreement with the memorandum that was sent around in the packet. And so I wanted to bring it here for your approval as well. I do want to make a couple of things clear. The money that's used for this does not in any way impact what we call RPL funds. It is separate from those. It's something that we apply for through a grant. So there won't be any money that's taken away from Tippecanoe County or Tippecanoe County planning activities through this agreement. It's just something we do to help out Carroll County. But to formalize it, we do need the approval of our policy board, which of course is you guys. So that's kind of how we got to this situation. Like I said, it's something that was a little bit out of date. And that's why we're trying to update that, I guess you'd say. And yeah, what I have in the packet there kind of outlines some of the more specifics about the responsibilities and the work that we do for them. Most of it is through traffic count data collection, but we can do a few other things for them as well. So I'd like to, at this time, open this up for any questions.
Okay, one last chance. Any questions for Tim? Seems like a good thing to do and work together. So I would entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with Carroll County.
Yes, actually, just a quick note on that. For the motion specifically, if we could get a motion to authorize the president of the policy board, which is Mayor Rosworski, to sign it. That's how I think we should probably word it, because it's currently in Carroll County for their signatures, so it's circulating amongst their people. And then once that gets signed by them, then we can bring it to our folks to sign it as well.
So moved, Murtaugh.
Second, Steve Snyder.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Murtaugh,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
Deb Calder. The memorandum is approved. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T25-12, a resolution to amend the 2025-2026 Unified Planning Work Program. Looks like this is for City Bus, $1.2 million in 5307 funds for a strategic plan. And Tim will be handling this presentation.
Yes. So this is something that we are required to include in our UPWP because it does use federal funds, specifically, like you mentioned, Mayor, those FTA Section 5307 funds. So unfortunately, City Bus is forecasting some continuing budget shortfalls due to factors such as the property tax caps, the lowering of the state budget, the rise in inflation, and just increased costs of service that they have to maintain and operate their service, all of those sorts of things. So City Bus wants to look at how to really become very efficient at finding ways to save some money so that they can operate in a fiscally constrained manner. And they have done some good work with their comprehensive operations analysis, the Reimagining City Bus system redesign that they have put into place. But as they note in the staff report, this needs to have some further changes. So in order to work on this, City Bus is proposing the planning project called City Bus 2030 Plus, which is a 5 to 10 year strategic plan that looks at service levels, their capital plan, and also seeks to find operational efficiencies to be able to really maximize their budget. So the amount that they're going to use for that would be section or 1.2 million in Section 5307 funds, and then their 20% local match would be 300,000. I see that Brian Smith is on the call with us. So Brian, is there anything you'd like to say that I missed?
I don't think you missed anything. I would just, ask for the support of the board. We have passed our budget and are submitting it to the city of Lafayette for next year, and it includes a 25% service cut in May if we're not able to find additional partners in some apartment complexes and hospitals and what have you. And then as we forecast out each year beyond that, we're looking at smaller cuts potentially each year. And rather than have something where it's a death of 1,000 cuts, want to do this mid-range planning exercise, find the level that we can sustain for a period of time, and then be able to set our service level there and go forward. And prior to my arrival at City Bus, there had been some work done about our facility here and with the fleet size that we have, possibly needing a new location. But as you reduce service, that calls into question whether or not you need to do that. So we want to look at that as well and see what our future is so that we can accurately plan for the facility that we're in and when do you replace the things that need replaced, and what do you leave go for more time, all while trying to put as much service out on the street as possible with the money that we do have.
Brian, Tim, I do have a question. I certainly understand the difficult position that you're in and appreciate all the work in the planning, but I do want to clarify the consultant to do that planning is charging $1.2 million just to pay the consultant for planning.
So we have not hired one yet. This first, we wanted to be able to program the money for it, and then this would actually be at least two, if not more than that, related but separate efforts. One is in specifically in maintenance, and getting our program up to what is best practices in maintenance to try to find some savings there. And then I would expect that this would have follow along work during the life of the plan. And we would keep the consultant that we'd hired on board for several years to continue to help us evaluate things like if it comes out that we should stay at the location that we're at, then we would need an A able to give us estimates on what that work should cost and those kinds of things. So this is meant to be for at least two related but separate consultants, and then to be spent over at least a 3 to 5 year period, depending on what the results of the study are. So the study itself won't be 1.2 million. It will be cheaper than that, and then the follow along work we may need them to do would be the extra funds for it.
Okay. And Brian, has this went through your board and everything already?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Brian or for Tim?
I agree. That seems kind of steep. Could this be done? I mean, did you get a couple quotes for this work?
I've gotten estimates from some partners in the industry. We've done our independent cost estimate, as is required by our FTA purchasing regulations, and for the amount of work that I would forecast over that 3 to 5 year period, this was the recommended amount for those two specific studies, and then the follow along potential. It wouldn't be going to all one company or be spent all in 1 year.
Does okay, and this is for fiscal year 25 and 26. Is that correct?
It would the planning study I would shoot to have at least the first section of it done to help us plan for our 27 budget and beyond. So it would be the initial planning study would be done sometime in 26, and then the follow along work could take place actually in 27 or 28. With our 5307 funds, we're able to spend across a 5 year time frame. We have slightly different rules than the FHWA and NDOT has for spending money. So we're able to stretch it over a multi-year period.
And Tim, for all of us, where does the 5307 funds come from, and what are all their potential uses?
Yes, so those do come from FTA. So these are funds that City Bus regularly gets. They use them for a lot of different things. Brian might actually be better able to tell you all the things they can possibly use them for. But they would kind of be, I guess, repurposing, so to speak, some of the funds that they already have for this. So it would, kind of take that away from some other potential work for the time being. I don't know. Brian, do you want to speak to that question as well?
So this generally are referred to as capital funds and can be used for things like purchasing buses, buying real estate, building and construction. We also are able to use it for offsetting operating expenses. It can, and we are doing that with other 5307 money that we have. So it has certainly not unlimited, but there's a broad number of things it can be used for. We primarily use it for buying buses. Is the most common use that we have for it. That and the operating expense.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for those explanations. I'm sure you and your board will keep a close eye on those expenses and the charges from the consultant. So, but I do appreciate the discussion with everybody to help kind of clarify what's going on, how it'll be used, where it's coming from, because that is a significant amount of money for planning, even in our world. So, all right. Anybody else have any questions for Brian?
Mayor, just
Yes.
a comment, Mike Gibson. We do keep an eye on where that goes. And, like Brian said, when you talk about, we've used it in the past for buying buses, buses can be $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. So that eats up $1 million pretty quick. But I sure would, as we look at consultant costs, we all look at it very closely and where the money goes, especially as tight a budget as we are on right now. So just know that the board is keeping an eye on all of that.
Thank you, Mike.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Tim or Brian? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution for City Bus.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We will now conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Murtaugh,
Aye.
Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder.
Aye.
All right, the resolution is approved. So good luck, Brian, to you and City Bus as you go through this process.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is Resolution T25-13, a resolution to amend the 2026-2030 Transportation Improvement Program. Looks like NDOT updating 24 projects and add 11 new ones. And Doug, it looks like you're going to be handling this one.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see, we have a request from the Indiana Department of Transportation to amend the 26 Transportation Improvement Program. And as the mayor highlighted, there are a significant number of projects that will affect a number of state and U.S. routes and the interstate in the county. We have 2 projects, State Road 26, 3 on State Road 28, 4 on State Road 38, 9 on US 52 or Special US 52, 13 on I-65, 1 on State Road 225, and then 3 district-wide projects. The report shows a lot of different types or scope of work, including traffic signal modernization, significant number of thin deck overlays, and again, that's to preserve the bridges so they have a longer life. Some ditch corrections, auxiliary lanes at rural intersections, replacing superstructures, bridge removal project, bicycle and pedestrian facility, the truss repair and reconstruction project, and that's specifically on State Road 225, bridge maintenance projects, raised pavement marking projects. So there's a large scope of work involved with all of these projects. There are, of course, I would like to point out some of the larger ones. The project that is the largest is actually a combination, and they are in West Lafayette on Sagamore Parkway. And then the second largest is the State Road 225 project, and that is estimated construction cost of $7 million. The Technical Transportation Committee did review this amendment request and improvement, and we're asking for your approval. I know it's a fairly significant request. This is one of the largest I've seen in quite a while. The resolution actually takes up 4 pages. So specifically, we wanted to make sure that each project is listed out and what the changes are for each one. So are there any questions or comments?
Any questions for Doug? Deb, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I do not. I think Doug covered it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions for Doug? All right, hearing none, we will conduct a roll call vote on resolution T 25-13. Aaron Easter. Aaron, did you vote? I can see you and your mouth's moving, but I can't hear you, so that we'll take it as a thumbs up. Tom Murtaugh,
Aye.
Larry Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to the APC progress report. On the first item, we have the MPO update, and the first item under that is looks like Doug is going to be talking about the TIP and the STIP.
Thank you, Mayor. We have some very exciting news. Shown on your screen is a letter from NDOT actually approving our 26 to 30 transportation improvement program. Again, this project started last year, roughly September, October, and we have went through all the process. We went through the complete entire review. NDOT and Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration gave us their thumbs up. So officially, we are now working under this document. We have also included a letter from the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration, and this is regards to the State Transportation Improvement Program. And through their review, just like our TIP, they approved that document as well. So we are now working under the 2026 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program and State Transportation Improvement Program. So we thought this was very exciting news. It only happens every couple of years. We are now working under a new document, and we thought we'd share this information. Are there any questions or comments?
Congratulations.
That's good
Thank you.
news.
Mhm.
All right, Doug, go ahead and move on to the proposed federal functional classes.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the past year, we have been reporting and shown several maps regarding our effort to visit the functional classification of all roads within Tippecanoe County. This effort usually happens after the decennial census, which occurs just, once every 10 years. It's quite a bit of work. We went through all of the roads, or especially the major roads within the county, and visited their functional classification, put together a proposal. We brought this actually to the Technical Transportation Committee a while back, as well as this committee, and have been working with the NDOT office in central office to make all of these changes. And we actually just completed our review here, very recent, and now we're actually going through the process of actually adopting it. Now, unlike the TIP, STIP, or work program amendments, we do not need a resolution from this board. All that is required is basically a 2-page simple application and then a letter from the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Now, the letter does require the heads of local governments, which this does affect. So the mayors, county commissioner, and then the town's battleground, Dayton, and so forth, will all need to sign this letter. So what we are asking for your permission to go ahead and proceed with this, draft the letter, and then have all of these persons sign it and submit it to NDOT along with the application. Are there any questions or comments?
All right, seeing none, thank you, Doug. We'll go on to the quarterly project progress summary. And Tim, that's you.
Yes, I think we would still like a motion, though, to authorize you to sign that. Is that correct, Doug, that we still want a motion?
If we can, that would be great.
Okay. Well, we're happy to do it. It wasn't designated on the sheet there, but we are happy to do that. Can I have that motion from someone, please?
I move that we authorize the mayor to sign the document.
Second.
Did I get that wrong, Doug? It's more than just who all needs to sign the document?
It would be both mayors, it would be the county commissioners, and then the representative of Battleground Dayton.
Mike, can we change that just a little bit to include those folks?
Yes, to have all the officials that are listed to sign the document.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none. Aaron Easter. Okay, I see the thumbs up. Tom Murtaugh.
Aye.
Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Larry Leverance.
Aye.
Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Mike Gibson.
Aye.
Deb Calder.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. Authorize those signatures. Okay. All right. Now we'll move down to the quarterly project progress summary with Tim.
Yep, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the information we got from our quarterly project tracking, which happened at last month's Technical Transportation Committee meeting. I'm not going to necessarily go through all the projects. I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights. But if there are any questions afterwards, please do feel free to go ahead and ask. So starting with Tippecanoe County, the first thing I'd like to highlight is that the letting for the North 9th Street Road Bridge project was pushed back to January due to some delays in the environmental review. We had kind of been anticipating this, and fortunately we still do have some time, so moving it back to January is still well within the fiscal year, so the funds aren't at risk or anything, so I think this delay shouldn't be too much of an issue, thankfully. The next thing I'd like to highlight is the Morehouse Road project. So course, phase one was open to traffic last November, and the punch list for that phase has been completed, which is kind of a great step to take. However, because of some utility delays, phase two got started later than expected. So we are expecting to see some acceleration costs for that. Those will be reflected in future reports that are filed. Additionally, the county bridge inspection program is progressing well. They should have all their final reports completed soon, and that will be done just in time to restart the cycle again, because that's, of course, always an ongoing project. And then the last thing I'd like to highlight for the county is that Bridge 527, that project has let, which is great, and a one semester closure is expected for that. Moving on to Lafayette, the South 9th Street project, of course, was split into phases, and the letting for one of those phases, Ortman to Veterans Memorial Parkway, has been shifted back to February. Some of those phases are on pretty tight timelines, but we've been in communication with Lafayette City Engineering staff and their consultants, and they have told us that they do expect to be able to hit all the project milestones and be able to get all the projects let in the appropriate fiscal years. So we think that is progressing well, even though it is a lot of work and it is on a tight timeline. And then for West Lafayette, we as APC staff are continuing to monitor the Soldiers Home Road project. We do have someone attending the project meetings that have taken place for that, and that's progressing pretty well. I did want to note that public comments for phase one of this project were open until August 26th. And from my understanding, West Lafayette did get several comments from the public about that project. So they are working through addressing those as appropriate. Okay, so that's the update that I have. Are there any questions or comments about either the projects I covered or the ones that I didn't cover?
All right, hearing none, thank you, Tim. And then we'll jump to Doug for the NDOT 18-month letting list.
The 18-month letting list is somewhat short, covers just a bit over one page. If you look on the first page and the second page, most of the projects are all continuing on track. As Tim pointed out, the South 9th Street project, while it shows here in January, it's actually going to be in February. The State Road 225 project, number 3 is listed, is on the January 4th bid letting. I have my fingers and toes crossed. Hopefully we'll get some very good bids on that. Yes. Looking down a bit further, we have the North 9th Street bridge on a January letting. And then we did have a change for the traffic signals. This is for the West Lafayette set part. This is the emergency vehicle preemption that moved to an April 8th letting. And then the project on the back, number 22, this is in the Indiana Veterans Home. It seems like this is a hit or miss. Sometimes it's on the 18-month letting list, and then sometimes it drops out. So the information when we put this together was not available, so we will actually keep an eye on this one. And then as reported previous month, the 52 project, we already covered that, the information, and that was on a July bid letting. So any questions or comments regarding that? Okay.
All right, any comments? Anybody want to add anything? All right, thank you, Doug. We'll then move on to other business. Is there any other business to come before the board today? All right, hearing none, we will go to the process of citizen comments.
I do want to note that Aria has mentioned to me that she does have the timer running, so she's working on that. It looks like we don't have any so far. Okay, looks like there were no comments at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll close the citizen comment period, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Murtaugh.
Second, Gibson.
We have a motion and a second. We'll conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter. Thank you. Tom Murtaugh.
Aye.
Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Larry Leverance.
Aye.
Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Mike Gibson.
Aye.
Deb Culver.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. The meeting is adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.